So I do have some things that I have to get to, and they will be done, Lord willing, by the end of the week. Um, but at times I do get distracted because I've noticed over a lot of time that, different things that I say, different people, um, I've tried to change the narrative about and different things like that. And so, being a person who's an introvert, who is a private person, and kind of being put into a position by myself, because nobody told me to start talking about the things that I started talking about. And that's not to say that I elevated myself, because I never, like I said, man, like my intent was totally different from, obviously, some other people's intent when it comes to this online stuff. But it never was to gain influence, to become the most well-known, influential Christian, to have the most people like me. Quite simply, it all started about helping another person with their ministry and sharing a revelation that, I was shown as well about the mark of the beast. And so, the mark of the beast, it says small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. And so that doesn't just cover Christians, that covers all groups of people. And so from my perspective, I felt sharing that stuff was, it was a service, because it's not about like anybody trying to take that as something for themselves, when like it's about people going to hell. It's about a salvation issue, and like understanding how much people can come back from, but that's something that you can't come back from. So it's important to talk about. People didn't understand that at times. Like the fact that God can bring back a murderer and bring him into his fold, like, should show you the grace of God is so great, but that certain things even you can't come back from if you come into agreement with those things. And it's important that we recognize that. And I don't want to demoralize people with certain things, but with that aspect, it says if you accept the mark of the beast, then your fate is pretty much sealed. Now, I don't want to speak on certain things exacts, whether or not, because, my perspective has changed a lot. I'm going to get into certain things. I'm going to talk about certain things on my channel now, and clear all those things up about where my stance is now on, certain issues, which, for the most part, they're the same, but the way I feel about certain things, the way I see certain things are different. And, at some point, I'm going to talk about that. I don't want people to, assume certain things about me. So, as far as what I believe, what I doctrine, this and that. And so I'm going to, like I said, make better versions of those videos. I got different editing tools. I'm trying to, educate myself on how to get better with those things. And so, everything has been a work in progress, but I'm working. And so it's been very difficult dealing with, when you talk about things that are personal at times, different people talking about those things and making it theirs, demonizing you, calling you everything but a child of God, and then trying to flip the story and be like, that's what you doing, that's what you saying to other people, and all this different stuff. And it's like, I've been dolo my entire time online. Had very few support. Wow, it seems like some people are interested in my story or whatever, for whatever their reason is. I've had very little support, personal support, where I could reach out to somebody and get through to them. And so, that's where, if I'm being honest, a lot of the pain has stemmed from feeling alone and different things. But it also has helped me cope, realizing that, there's different times in life where you're going to have those seasons. And because I wasn't comfortable with going through those seasons earlier on, God had to put me through certain things at this point. And, I'm grateful for those things. You got different people, they'll mock where you at in your situation or in your story with God. Oh, he's there because he did this to me. And it's like, you think that highly of yourself, and that's where I'm glad God was protecting me from, having these different mindsets, like I'm so powerful that another person, and some of these things is true, so you do got to watch certain things, but having this idea that you're bigger than a program, that you're so important, not knowing like anything else, you are disposable should you fall out of line with God. And the fact that people can't talk like that, it shows me whether they have humility or lack thereof. And so, it's just been very interesting seeing certain things play out, and different people, just making time a lot harder with being online, trying to share certain things. And, it has led to me producing content on my own, because different people have been trying to tell people, oh, he thinks this, he believes this. And so in order to get on top of that, I'm like, let me share this. And that has led to some of the videos and doing some studies, which helped me find out certain things, brought revelation to me, and I'm grateful for those things. And so, I'm going to produce more content like that this year, by the grace of God. And the other things I got to get to, I got something I'm going to have to put out by the end of this week. And as far as my testimony and different things, now I'm going to share a part of that later on. It's not going to be with the next part, but I'm going to share a part of that. But, certain details I'm going to reserve for the different people that God instructs me to share that information with, because everybody who acts as if they're a support, they're not a support. As I've said, dealing with the thing with different people trying to get a hold of your story and creating narratives about you, that has been the hardest thing in the world to deal with. And so if I notice that you'll do that with the smallest bit of information, or information that is blatantly false about me, or maybe exaggerated, because some of the things that you may see me watch, if you can line it up with my personality, it's definitely an exaggeration. When people say I'm a talker, you clearly don't know me. Like, I'll talk about certain things. If you bring up certain things about the Bible, I'm probably gonna talk your head off. If you bring up something about football, I'm probably gonna talk your head off. But I'm just not a talker. When you get around me, I'm reading everything. I'm reading you. I'm reading me. I'm reading my reactions to being in your presence. All of this. I'm reading your reactions to being in my presence. I'm reading a whole bunch of different things. I'm quiet to take in information to see if it's necessary, if I keep, interacting with you. And, a lot of people mistake certain things, and that's okay. Everything and everybody isn't for everybody, and I'm okay with that. And what's for me is for me, and I'm not worried about whether or not I'm included in what. I just want people to stop talking about things, like especially if people say whatever your case is against me, just stop talking about a person you got an issue with. It should be that simple, but we'll see going forward. But I am going to share certain things. There are certain people that I do need to reach out to, and there are certain apologies that I do have to, probably one apology that I got to clean up a little bit. But there's different things that I got to get to. There's different messages that I got to get to, and other people perception of me is not going to stop that. But as I've said, dealing with certain things silently, like it was one thing if it's one person or 2 or 3 people helping me in that matter. But when you got groups of people, and then people claiming that I got groups of people, or I'm in cahoots with people, or I'm doing this and I'm doing that, when I've literally been by myself. Don't nobody send me no money. Don't nobody online call me. Don't nobody online send me no DMs besides the people who are in direct contact with my page. Don't nobody talk to me about certain things. And so, like I said, I feel greatly disrespected when people talk about certain things that are personal and take it as certain things that, their information, their testimony, and different things, and they feel entitled to use it. And it is frustrated me. It's brought a lot of grief and anxiety, being, like I said, being an introvert and being a private person in the first place. But I've learned to endure that. I'm still going to be me regardless of any situation or any space that I'm able to get into by the grace of God. But it's always going to be uncomfortable to, if I'm talking to people, then people talk about that said thing as if I'm not in a room when I'm dealing with me. If I tell you something about me and you tell other people about it, like I'm not in a room, like I didn't just say that same thing, or you try to change it. It's like, understand what you do to bring the frustration in. That's why I say some of the things that I say. But, at the end of the day, we all gotta, like I said, we gotta, humble ourselves in different things, and we gotta work on the things that we gotta work on. As I said, the Bible say, you saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. Nobody else's. So it's important to focus on what you got to do with God, and if you can, while you're in the way with people, make things right with them. Peace.